At the most recent ACIP meeting, you spoke and gave ACIP three pieces of advice, correct?
Yes.
Right. One of them was to conduct more vaccine safety studies to prove the anti-vaccinationists wrong, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. If the science to prove vaccines safe already exists, why would more safety studies be needed to prove the anti-vaccinationists wrong?
Because there are so many people, as you can see on the web, who have these beliefs about vaccines, and as we have discussed throughout this long day, it would be valuable to have more safety data.
Like a vaccinated versus unvaccinated study, correct?
If such a study is feasible.
Okay. Shouldn't vaccine safety studies be done for the sake of making vaccines safer, not for the purpose and with the predetermined objective of proving so-called anti-vaccinationists wrong?
Oh, absolutely. I do not deny that there are known reactions to vaccines. Fortunately, they are rarely serious. But I support more research on every aspect of vaccines.
And your claim that they're rarely serious is from your book, right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you received a MEN ACWY or MPS V4 vaccine?
I believe so. That was a long time in the past. Because those vaccines have been available for a long time. I'd have to check my records, but I think particularly when I traveled to Africa, I believe I took it.
Have you received a MEN B vaccine?
Not yet, no.
Have you received a Hib vaccine?
Oh, Hib, well, I was long past the age of Hib when it was developed.
When's the last time you got a tetanus diphtheria containing vaccine?
Oh, within the last 10 years. I don't remember exactly when, but...
Do you think all adults should be required to receive all vaccines on the CDC's adult immunization schedule?
That's somewhat of a difficult question because adults, of course, have the ability to make their own decisions. Tetanus is a vaccine that, how shall I put it? I guess it's a choice whether you're willing to be susceptible to tetanus or not. For pertussis, I think there's increasing reason to say that all adults should be vaccinated against pertussis. So it's, let's say, open to discussion at this point for DTaP anyway.
And you'd support a law that would require adults to get the DTaP?
At this point, 2017, I wouldn't insist on that for all adults. I would insist on it for children and adolescents. But the data, the reason I say that is because the data showing protection against pertussis in older adults is really not that solid, not that available.
Did you ever experience an adverse vaccine reaction?
Personally?
Yes.
No.
Have you ever witnessed someone experience an adverse vaccine reaction?
I've witnessed people fainting after vaccination.
Anything else?
Certainly I've seen people complain of pain at the injection site. And in the rubella days, women complaining of joint pains after vaccination. I think that's it.
When you say fainting, after what vaccine was that?
Oh, actually, that was tetanus, as I recall. It was a high school athlete.
Do you know anyone that's experienced a serious adverse reaction?
Personally, no.
Yeah. Did your grandchildren receive the hepatitis B vaccine on the first day of life as recommended by the CDC?
I'm sorry, say the question again.
Yeah. I asked if his grandchildren have your grandchildren received the hepatitis B vaccine on the first day of life as recommended by the CDC? And he answered yes. Do you think there's a safe threshold of how many vaccines can be administered at one time?
My answer to that is I don't know. I don't think there's any evidence that the 6 that are currently generally given together is a problem. So I don't know if eventually there's some theoretical threshold, but I am not aware of any evidence for that yet.
Okay. But before you would say, for example, getting 30 vaccines on one day was safe, you'd probably want to get the data to support it?
Yes.
Okay. That data doesn't yet exist, obviously, right?
No.
Okay. Do you intend to appear at trial in this matter to testify?
No, I do not.
Do you intend to appear via video conference to testify in this trial?
Well,
In
I
this
haven't
case?
been asked. I suppose I might consider a video conference, but no one has asked me, and I'm not, I would say, very inclined to do that. And you know, while we're on the tape, so to speak, I want to stipulate, since you were so interested in my income, that I'm doing this pro bono.
Mm-hmm. But as you sit here today, you're still receiving remuneration from all 4 major vaccine makers, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you how do you define anti-vaccinationists or anti-vaxxers as you've used them here today?
How do I define them?
Yeah, what does that mean to you? You use those terms, and I'm actually not
They are
exactly sure what you
people-
mean by that.
People opposed to vaccination for a variety of reasons, some of which are based on false inferences from scientific data.
If somebody were opposed to vaccines because they believed there was insufficient data for them to make a decision about the actual risks, not the benefits, but the risks, would you consider that person an anti-vaxxer?
If they refuse to be vaccinated themselves or refuse to have their children vaccinated, I would call them an anti-vaccination person, yes.
Is there anybody who could refuse a vaccine who you would not label anti-vaxxer?
Yes, if there are individuals who are immunosuppressed, for example, and therefore have a contraindication to certain vaccines, that to me would be a reasonable decision on their part.
Okay. But otherwise, you believe that anybody else who refuses a vaccine is doing so based on misinformation?
Generally speaking, yes. Now, as I said before, I can imagine an adult deciding that they don't want the advantages of vaccination for whatever reason. I think the situation for children is quite different because one is making a decision for somebody else and also making a decision that has important implications for public health.
So in the case of an adult, you think it's okay for the adult to make a decision for themselves to take on a risk, even though it could implicate public health, but not the case for a child?
You know, it depends. For example, if you're a healthcare worker and you refuse to be vaccinated against diseases that you could potentially transmit to patients,